let me start to record. All right, Jack, thank you. Yes. Okay, so you're ready to start. Okay. All right, this time we will talk about economic things, economic development. The last time we talked about political and economics, but this time we wanna talk about a little bit more about economic development. Okay, it's a very simple topic. You already took some economic classes, so you have great sense about what this is. The focus is not the replication of economics, basic economics. And in this topic, the main point is that we have different economic situations across countries. You should recognize that. That is the main point of this topic. Okay? So this is not an economic class. This is international business class. So the main point is not basic economic things. Okay? But the main point is that each country has its own economic situations. Okay? As a manager, as a business leader, you should understand this. Then, based on this understanding, okay, you can set up your own strategy. If you don't recognize, if you miss the good picture of economics in that country, okay, your opportunities will be lost. Okay, we talked about that in the last time. Okay, so let's talk about economic development, national difference in economic development this time. Okay. All right, then corporation simulations. I just want to make sure. So probably you don't have any significant update on this, okay? But we still have time. We still have time to do the practice run, so we're going to wait. And schedule, we talked about that in the last time. Exam 1 next Tuesday, and presentation 1 next Thursday, okay? So exam 1, presentation 1. Any questions about it? Exam 1, presentation 1.
What's the format of your exams?
Exam it will be multiple choice questions. It's about, I don't know, but I'm not sure, 20 to 30 questions. Okay. So very simple and straightforward questions. Okay. The best strategy to prepare is read your textbooks very carefully, very carefully, right? Then you try to understand the concepts we have discussed, and then the logics or mechanisms behind of these concepts to interconnect them. Right? That's enough. A study guide? No, your textbook is a study guide. But I'm gonna upload my PowerPoint slides if you need.
It's on chapters 1 through 3 in the book, right?
Yes, that's right. The chapters we have discussed. So let me make sure. Chapter 1, 2. Chapter 1, 2, 3. Yes, that's right. Chapter 1, 2, 3. My research paper? Probably not. It's not, my research paper is not appropriate to test. So I won't cover, my research papers on the test. All right. Any other question? All right. Then the presentation 1, each topic is assigned already. So you have your own topics, so you can present it. Okay. All right, then let's move. I'm going to a little bit speed up this class, okay? Because we have some previous classes already, okay? So we are Are you familiar with this class? So I'm going to speed up a little bit. If I'm too fast, please let me know. Okay? Please stop me. All right. And warm keys. Okay. The last time, the average is 7.25 out of 9. It's great. It's good. And standard deviation is very narrow. Okay, less than 1. So I love it. I love it. Okay? I love it. And okay, let's start with the chapter 3 warm keys, national differences in economic development. Okay? So please go to quiz, okay, on Canvas. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. Now it's 12:36. You should be 12:46. Please go to Canvas and take the quiz. We're going to discuss afterwards. Wow, it was so quick. Wow. We're getting speed up too. Nice. Nice. You guys are so quick. So it seems that most of you are already done. Is anyone needs more time? So everyone's done? All right, it's great, great. Okay. So you are getting better, getting better. Okay. All right. Let's talk about that. All right. So economic development. Number one, GNI and PPP data. GNI and PPP data are useful because they provide a dynamic analysis of economic development. True or false? Anyone? True or false? Jensen says true. False. Yes, it's false. Okay. What is a GNI? Okay. Jack, go ahead. What is a GNI?
It's the gross national income.
All right. So it is the gross national product divided by the populations, right? And PPP. What is PPP? Why do you care about PPP? GNI and PPP together.
PPP is the purchasing power parity.
All right.
And it accounts for the standard of living in different countries.
Right. So GNI is just nominal things, right? Nominal things. That means it doesn't consider the national differences. So PPP should be considered to compare better comparison between countries. Okay. So why this is false? GNI and PPP data are useful because they provide dynamic. Okay. GNI, PPP are just annual comparisons between countries, right? So it doesn't provide dynamic across the time periods. That's why the textbook says it's a false statement, all right? So it's not dynamic analysis. Is it right? Okay. And number 2, political freedom is one of the measures used by the Human Development Index, HDI, to measure the quality of human life in different nations. True or false? This quiz is not easy. This time it's not easy. Political freedom is one of the measures used by HDI to measure the quality of human life in different nations. False. Okay? So political freedom is not one of the measures in the HDI. Okay? And 3 measures in HDI. 3 measures. Anyone? 3 measures.
Life expectancy is one of them.
Great. And
Educational attainment and
great. Life expectancy, educational attainment, and
the average income.
Yeah, average income, basic needs. Okay, 3 measures. So, why do we care about HDI? Why do we care about HDI?
Determines whether or not our customer base is worth it, sort of.
Yeah, it's sort of, yes, it makes sense. Okay. So each country has its own situation, right? So we cannot compare mechanically by some numbers. Okay. That's why we consider some other factors. Okay? Some other factors, like a educational situation and life expectancy, like a health issues and some basic needs. Okay? So by including these factors to measure, to compare across the countries, okay, then we have a better sense about what exactly this country is in what situation. Okay? That's why we care about HDI, PPP, GNI, some multiple measures. Okay, all right. Okay, number 3. The economic freedom associated with the market economy creates greater incentives for innovation and entrepreneurship than either a planned or mixed economy. True or false?
True.
Yeah, we talked about that. All right, we talked about that. It's true. Number 4, Peruvian development economist Hernando de Soto has argued that chronic inability of property owners to establish legal title to property they own is a key problem for innovation and entrepreneurial activity in developing nations. True or false? Yes, it's true. We talked about this too, all right? So in the last time, we talked about economic and politics. So we talked about this, okay? So just want to make sure. So property right is important to enhance innovations. Okay? Number 5, democracy is one of the consequences of economic growth and progress. True or false?
False.
Uh,
True. I'm an idiot.
True. False. Yeah, in general sense, many people say it's true.
Could you explain? Because I was confused about that question.
Yeah, I'm confused too, actually.
I don't see how it is.
Because there are some, causality issues, democracy and economic growth and progress. many people say it's correlated, right?
I see it's more of a cause than a causa, like the consequence.
That
Yeah.
I agree with.
Democracy helps economic growth and progress.
Yeah, democracy helps economic growth and progress, and economic growth and progress actually helps democracy. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Both are connected, correlated, but it's not easy to say which one go first. Democracy go first, then economic development, or economic development go first, democracy. In my perspective, I cannot say, I cannot say either one. At this point, I can say just, both concepts, both constructs are intercorrelated, right? But not causality between this.
There's definitely examples of both because America was a democracy first and we have economic growth. But then if we've seen from implementing democracies into countries, it doesn't work all the time.
That's right. That's true. Huh? So if economic growth progress happens, then many people have their life, and they can ask some more rights, okay, in terms of politics. So democracy can be one of the consequences. So it's actually it can be a true statement, right? Okay? It can be a true statement, and also it's not. No, I cannot conclude this. Okay, so good discussion. That's what I want to discuss. Okay, so textbook says it's true. All right, democracy is one of the consequences because it's one of the consequences of the economic growth and progress. Okay, so textbook says it's true. So your test or say your general perspective should be consider this as this is true statement. But there are a lot of things we can talk about this, okay? Especially about the causality. Make sense? Okay, so that's why we discussed this. Okay, great. Good discussions and good points. Okay. Number 6. Many totalitarian regimes were able to deliver economic progress to the vast bulk of their populations, which curbed the spread of democracy during the late 1980s. How do you think about that? Yeah, it's false. It's false. Okay. So not many countries, actually they tried to, but actually the economic development was the different things. Okay, so it's false. All right, number 7. Political scientist Samuel Huntington predicts that there will be a more harmonious world dominated by a universal civilization characterized by the democratic regimes and free market capitalism. So Western world. Is it true or false? It's false. Joking. Why false?
Because there's always gonna be some oligopolies and monopolies that dominate the market and doesn't allow for a free market capitalism. It's just always gonna be regulations by governments and.
Okay, so in your perspective, your point, there are in some other countries, this regime cannot be applied directly. Okay? So, for example, the Islam world. Okay, so actually we don't see the harmonious world in these days. There are a lot of conflicts. There are a lot of the opposition of the Western world. Okay? So actually, Samuel Huntington was correct. So the world is not so simple like that. Okay? So it's not so harmonious right now. Okay. All right. Any other point, Jensen? You wanna any comment on it? All right, great. Number 8. Economic freedom necessarily equates to political freedom. It's not true, right?
False. There's
Yeah,
a
it's false.
correlation, but there's not necessarily a causation.
Yeah, that's my point. That's my perspective. Okay. All right. So economic freedom is not, equates with the political freedom. Okay. All right. Number 9. In mixed economies, in certain sectors, the state set price-owned businesses, limited private enterprise, restricted investment by foreigners, and restricted international trade. True or false? Limited.
True.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's true. So in a mixed economies, okay, there are some limited things. Okay, some limited things. So look at this. In mixed economies, in certain sectors, states set price on the business, limited private enterprise, restricted investment by foreigners, restricted international trade. Based on this statement, the USA, is it mixed economy or free economy?
I feel like it's free, but I feel like there's some aspects that could be seen as mixed.
Yeah, in certain sectors, right?
Yeah, like the health sector, there's high restrictions on that. You can't
Yeah.
really privatize that. But then if I'm selling shoes, you're free to do what you want.
Yeah, that's right. Health sectors, there are high level of regulations. Okay? And also the national defense, right? National defense sector is exactly apply this. And some the SOC, some the public facilities. Yeah, they set price on the business, limited private enterprises, and something like that. Okay, so that's what I want you to think about. Okay, we say the USA is a free economy, right? But actually, there are a lot of companies that import from the mixed economies. Okay, so again, in China, it's controlled economy. Many people say so, but they have many companies to import from the free economy. So many countries, in my perspective, in many countries actually are mixed economies. They're getting become to mixed economies. Okay, but there are some differences. There are some different degrees. That's my perspective. All right, you think about that. All right, number 10. For privatization to work, it must also be accompanied by a more general deregulation and opening of the economy. True or false? In general sense, this is true statement. All right, in general sense, true statement. So privatization is accompanied with deregulation and opening the economy. Yes, that's true. Okay. All right, great, good discussions. So we have some points to think of in this. Okay. All right. In general sense, we have very solid idea. The USA, free country, free economy, but there are many components which not. Okay. So that's why we discuss this and we think about oh, that is not actually absolutely true. There are many things, there are other things we can think of. This is diversity of your perspectives, your ideas. That's what I want to try with this discussions. Great. Any question, comment about the one keys before moving? No, can I move? Okay. All right. So this topic is about economic development. Each country has its own economic situation. Okay. So we want to talk about some macro political economic changes and transition economies. Very simple topic. Okay. In the economics class, you already talked about these topics. Okay. But the main point is that okay, we're not gonna replicate economics class, but this time okay, we try to understand each country has its own economic situation in terms of international setting. So we need to understand these differences, not the basic things of economics. Okay. All right. So we are talking about country differences. All right. So your closing case. So it's about Indonesia, right? It's about Indonesia. So the political and economic evolution of Indonesia. Indonesia is a very interesting country in terms of politics and economics. And in terms of politics, yeah, it is very, very interesting. Okay, a flow of dictators, but actually dictators are changing each other. So we are going to talk about that. So, all right, let's. I'm going to create, okay, for team discussions. I'm going to create, okay, your breakout rooms, and we have 3 rooms, and I'm going to give you 10 minutes for discussion. And please go ahead, your own room to meet with your teammate and discuss this case, Indonesia.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
All right. How was the discussion?
Great.
That's great. All right. So let's talk about Indonesia. Very interesting country. Okay. So number one. All right. Before going on, anyone can just briefly talk about Indonesian economic evolution.
They were a dictatorship, and then they got rid of the leader, and they are more of a democracy right now.
Okay. So their political situation are changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the economic development actually is fluctuating. So let's talk about why. Under the leadership of Suharto, the Indonesian economy grew at a steady pace. Why was the ultimately not sustainable? Anyone can start. Jack, go ahead.
One reason I said it was just because his focus wasn't on the economy of the country as a whole. He rather he focused on growing his own wealth and the wealth of his supporters and trying to oppress others that didn't support him. And I think that's sustainable when you're trying to change with the world, the way the economy of the world is changing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So go ahead. Their basic economic system is based on the private wealth, family wealth, not the innovation, not the efficiency, effectiveness, not the ultimate goal of society, okay, public society. So that's why actually that limitation actually hindered the efficiency, effectiveness of their economic system. That's why their economic development is not sustainable. They have some markets, but this market is so limited, all right? It's fixed with the family incomes, with family wealth, private wealth. That's why. That's Jack is saying. Any other ideas?
Also, they're sort of late in the game of like technology. I mean, they still have, a chance, but the big countries like the United States have like had, decades and, years of over them of working on this stuff. So they kind of have the like resources right now to make this stuff and focus on that stuff while Indonesia is still trying to get a firm foundation.
All right, it's a good point. So Jensen has a good point too. It's a sector matters. Okay, so Indonesia is based on the agricultural-based economy. So their sectors are not produced. They are not, high value creating sectors. Okay? So some other countries already took those sectors, and Indonesia is late starter. Okay? So actually, their sectors are not suitable to maintain the sustainable growth in the economic development. It's a good point too. All right. Any other point?
I was just going to say that they accumulated a lot of debt that they then couldn't pay back.
Oh, that. Yes. Their financial, issues. Their financial system was not systematic, okay? Not efficient, not effectiveness, okay? Not effective. Okay? So their financial system is absolutely controlled by a number of people, a small number of people. So their financial system was not efficient, not effective. So actually, the influence of the financial system is it's like limited. Okay, so not all the economic sectors can enjoy the efficient and effective financial systems. Okay, so good point too. Great. Any other point? Any other comment? They're
Dumb,
not.
dumb question, but are they a part of the EU?
No, Indonesia is an Asian country.
Okay. I figured. I just thought I asked.
All right. So Indonesia, China, Vietnam, okay, Japan, South Korea, and these countries are Asian countries, not European countries. Indonesia has very interesting, the history of the dictatorships. Actually, the very early dictator was Sukarno, and he was just, a traditional dictator. And Suharto actually destroyed him. And then, so this is a change of dictators, not just, the democracy. And then the daughter of Sukarno, Megawati, actually destroyed Suharto too. So it is very weird to see, it's very strange to see the daughter of former dictator came back in late 1980s. Okay, so it was very interesting. So it was a big news of the world in that time. Okay, all right. So since Suharto was removed, Indonesia has grown its economy at a slower pace than two other large developing nations, India and China. Why do you think this has been the case?
There was still corruption, and also there was no enough infrastructure or resources or technology like India and China had already.
So lack of resources, that's true, and also some turbulence, fluctuating, not stability. Probably these factors can impact a lot. Okay, all right. So, for example, you talked about financial market. All right. If you don't have enough money to develop your economy, then what are you gonna do? You import financial resources from other countries, right? So think about that. But some other countries, if your politics, economic situation are not stable, then why they should invest in their country, right? So stability is very important to import some resources, including financial resources, developed nations. And India and China, think about that. Two big countries. Okay? They have different political systems, from the USA's, but they have relatively stable transitions of their political powers, and then based on this stability, they try to import some components of mixed economy, right? And then they achieve a better development. Right? Yeah, that's the problem with Argentina. Yeah, high country risk levels, no investment. That's true. So, this one is not so also clear, the causality, okay? But if you want to develop your economy, then probably the foreign financial resources are necessary in many countries, okay? So international investors. So think about that. If there's no stability in a country, probably international investors, many funds, they do not invest in that country, except that high risk-taking investors. Okay, so these are connected. So we are talking about inside Indonesia, but actually many other factors are existing in outside Indonesia to impact the economic development. So that's what we should recognize. All right. Any other ideas?
The only other point I was going to make was that they really don't know how to deal with international relations, sort of, because they've been kind of controlled and not really had that independence to do it. Because I know, like the communists, the countries that the Soviet Union controlled, and after they demolished, left them on their own, they struggled with that too because they had no idea really how to interact internationally because they hadn't done it before.
That's true too. Global business mind, international setting. Actually, they do not have any reason to have a great global mind setting, right? Okay? So it's a closed country system. It has been. Okay? Then, in a national setting, outside the box, the global mind, actually, they don't have it. All right? So it is a trend. It is a trend. We should take it. Okay? We should take it. All right. Then, yeah, Indonesia was not so lucky in terms of that point. Okay. But, dictators, okay? Dictators, they want to keep their own things inside, okay? Not internationally. They don't want to open it. Okay. So it's a general, characteristics. Okay. All right. What actions could Indonesia take to improve its economic performance? What impediments might make it difficult for the government to take these actions? So let me know what you think about. So how do you manage if you are the Indonesian, the leader? How do you manage it, the country? What actions are you going to take?
It would help if they had more privatization instead of having like the families that are also part of the government be in charge of the businesses, because that obviously leads to corruption. So just ultimately getting rid of corruption, which is difficult because the government doesn't want to disband itself. So yeah.
Yeah, the reformation of the tax structure is very important, right? So they try to, transform the family-oriented business system or economic system to the open system. Okay? So in this process, probably privatization will be very, very important. It should be accompanied by the regulations and open market. Okay? So it changes the whole picture of economy. All right? I had an Indonesian friend. When I met him in Australia, he introduced himself as he was just a son of the uh, tobacco store. He was the son of the tobacco store. His father was the owner of tobacco store. So then he invited me to visit Indonesia in Sunday. Then when I went back to my own country, I just visited a couple of days in Indonesia. Then I met him. Actually, he was the son of the administrator of tobacco production. What's it? Tobacco production and manage the officers. So he was one of the family member of Suharto. So it was very funny. It was very funny. When I met him in the airport, you know, he was not just just ordinary person, not average person. I just enjoyed a couple of days in Indonesia very well. Okay. All right, great. Any other comments? What actions?
I would say another action would be allowing controlled foreign investment, allow foreigners to come and invest into their country, but make sure it's controlled and regulated. because if you allow too much control from foreign investors, they'll take over a majority of your wealth, and therefore the country doesn't get much wealth that it needs.
Yeah. Okay. Foreign resources. So actually, the direct of resources was pointed to the problem of the Indonesian economy. So anyway, you need to find other resources. Then foreign resources will be very important. Okay. So how to attract them? How to attract them? We talked about that. The attractiveness of country, right? Attractiveness of country in the last time. So cost and benefit. The perspective of international investors benefit should be greater than the cost. Okay. And stability and some open system, and this series of the factors that impact the benefits of the international investors. Okay, so reduce cost, increase benefit for foreign investors, then you have better resource to start to use the economic development in your country. So think about this. Look at this. All of these stories. This is quite different from that of, let's say, America, right? So totally different world. So if you do not recognize, if you just assume Indonesia is a one other country, similar with the USA, you have a big problem. Huh? Big problem. So each country has its own economic situation. You should, before you moving to get into that market or whatever your business, okay, before you making decisions, you should know this. This is a main point in this chapter. Okay, so differences. Please recognize these differences first. Okay, and based on this recognition, we can set up a better strategy to do business in international setting. That's the main point of this topic. Clear? All right. Any other points? Any other comments or questions? All right, good. So let's move on. So we talked about GNI, okay? Gross national income. So all the national income divided by population. This is GNI, okay? And PPP, purchasing power parity, okay? That is, it considers differences in the cost of living, okay? So why GNI is problematic? It's a nominal, just numbers, mechanical numbers. And PPP considers the cost of living. So, for example, China, all right, China, GNI is low, but when you're considering PPP, and PPP is somewhat high, okay? So you should recognize these differences, okay? GNI and PPP data are not static, not consider economic growth rate. So it's an annual comparisons. Both are annual comparisons across countries. Okay. All right. Then HDI, we talked about that. Okay. HDI. Look. Okay. GNI, PPP are just money. But there are some other factors that impact. Yeah, that impact the economic development. So, life expectancy, educational attainment, and basic needs. These three components should be included to compare the economic development across countries. That's HDI, Human Development Index. So there are many measures to measure the economic development, to compare economic development across countries. Okay? But some measures have, pros and cons. Okay? Each measure has its own pros and cons. Okay? So we need to balance. Okay? We need to use multiple measures to have a better picture of the country. Okay? All right. Then factors of economic development, political economy, yes, politics. And stability is very important. Geography, usually the land countries are not easy to transport something, so it is slow in economic development. That's many people is saying. Okay, and education, right? Innovation. Education is highly involved with innovation things. Okay, and education is involved with many things, actually politics and economics and some other factors. Okay? All right. So we talked about this economic freedom and economic growth. Okay? So we are pretty sure economic freedom and economic growth, okay? Political freedom and political economic growth are correlated. Okay, correlated. But the causality between this, we are not sure. Okay. Okay. And innovation and entrepreneurship, right? Innovation and entrepreneurship. This is involved with what we mainly talk about efficiency, effectiveness in the economic system. So innovations should be developed. Okay. And market economy is required for innovation and entrepreneurship. We talked about that in the warmer case. Okay. And strong property rights too. Strong property rights because people seek self-interest. Okay. So in the market economy and strong property rights, people can have a chance to seek self-interest through innovation and entrepreneurship. That is the characteristic of free market. Yeah. Any questions so far? Any comment? Is it too fast? All right. Is it too fast, or you have any problem with pace? And let me know. Okay. All right. Then democratic regimes are probably more conducive to long-term economic growth than dictatorships. Yes. Okay. Probably. In sometimes very strong, strong leadership or some strong dictatorship can work in some cases. Okay. So set up a direction and go in one direction. Sometimes it works. Okay. But usually, in general sense, democratic regimes are probably more conducive to long-term economic growth rather than dictatorships. Okay. All right. Then geography. Landlocked countries grew more slowly than coastal economies. Probably transportations. All right. And some accessibility. Usually coastal countries develop quickly. Okay? And tropical countries grew more slowly than countries in temperate zones. There are many theories to explain this. Okay? This one. But there is now no dominating theories. Okay? So it's a general phenomenon. You should know this. And so we talked about this already. Okay, dynamics of political economy. These days, a move away from centrally planned or mixed economies, okay, to the free economy. But in some other sense, okay. So there are some examples that actually free economies import many components, some components of mixed economies or planned economies. So we cannot say this is a purely, planned, purely mixed, purely, free economies. Okay? They are actually import. They import some components in each other. Okay? Anyway, but the general sense, more countries have shifted toward the market-based model. All right, and trend one. Democracy has spread over the last 2 decades. Yes, of course. Okay, democracy, political system. Right, more and more countries have democracy. At least they try to import it. And oh yes, this is Francis Fukuyama and Samuel Huntington. So Fukuyama argues that New World will be good, all right, with the democratic regions and free market capitalism, harmonious. But Samuel Huntington says, probably not, okay? Probably not. While many societies are modernizing, but they're not becoming more Western. Actually, this is more realistic. This is more realistic. Okay? That predicts a world split into different civilizations. We see it. There are several civilizations in the world, not westernizing. Okay, look at China, look at India, look at Islamic countries. Okay, so different civilizations. Okay, so we need to expect this. So the world is not converging. Okay, in some sense, it's diversified. So we need to understand this. Okay, and based on this understanding, we have a little bit different strategies to each, civilizations. All right. The trend two, the spread of market-based system. Yes. Okay. More and more countries. Okay, open the economy. So that means more and more international markets, and also more and more international, opportunities to think about to resolve your managerial issues, business issues in the outside box, okay, and not domestically. So many opportunities. All right, so we talked about that. A market-based system involves deregulation, privatization, and property rights. These three things are important to economic development, actually innovation and entrepreneurship too. Okay. And we talked about the market. So the perspective of U.S. businessmen, okay, actually foreign the international setting was a good chance, good opportunity to provide low-cost production materials. Okay, low-cost production factors. For example, China. The low labor force, low-cost labor force. That's why many U.S. companies went to China. Okay, because there are a lot of people. You can hire, you can use this labor force at a lower cost. Okay? Then this economy is growing, stabilizing. Then this product factor market becomes a consumer market, your market. You can sell your product. So at the beginning of the class, I suggest you think about 10% of top Earth's population in China. The huge market. Yeah. So, it's a new opportunity. Production the production factor market to the consumer market. So it's a huge opportunity. You need to think about that. Okay? All right, but the potential risks are large. Okay? So political, economic situations are not so stable like the West world. Okay? So there are many countries still high risk, high return. High risk, high return. Okay? In terms of politics and economics. Okay? Then you need to balance this risk and return. It's totally up to you as an international manager. Okay? So you need to recognize the difference between countries, and you should have good picture of each country. And based on this understanding, then you can set up your own strategy to use this in national setting. That's the main point of this chapter. Okay. All right. That's pretty much about, oh yes, country attractiveness. Okay. So when you consider a country for your investment target, so you need to think about best and cost, best benefit and cost, and risk. Three, benefit, cost, risk. So if your benefit is greater than the cost and risk, then you can invest it. Okay. But conceptually, it's easy to say, but there are so many factors in each this category: benefit, cost, risk. So in your textbook, okay, there's some list of these factors, then you can read by yourself. All right. So that's pretty much about this topic. Yeah. So that's pretty much about chapter 3. So we've done chapter 3. Any question, comments on chapter 3? Very simple topic, but there are many things to think about behind all these topics. Okay? But we cannot cover all of these ideas. Okay, so we are just briefly talk about some, some factors. Any question?
The only question I would have is like if you wanted to like see where to look up, if a country had all this stuff, would you just like Google stuff? Like if what its political risks are, what its economic stuff is GNI and all that stuff?
Please say it again, please.
So if you wanted to know a country's like overall like attractiveness, would you like to find out like the GNI and then the triple P? Would you like Google all that stuff and that's how you can figure that out?
No, I don't want you to remember the numbers, actually, but I want to have some sense about it. Okay, I want you to have some sense about it, but I don't want you to remember or specifically, what is the GNI of the USA, what is the GNI of the Indonesia, something like that. But if you have a good sense about, USA GNI is much, much higher than the Indonesian GNI. That's enough. So when you need it, you can just find it on Google. So I don't want you to have a very specific, numbers on it. You don't need to take care of it. Even okay. I don't know. Any other question? All right, no question? All right, then I will see you in the next week with your exam and presentation 1. You did a great job, good discussions, and you had a good chance to expand your perspectives, I believe. Okay, it's good. I will see you in the next week. Have a good weekend. Great job. You did a great job.
Dr. King?
Yes.
I do have one question. I just thought about it. So for the presentation, it's kind of open on what you want us to do. Like, there's not like a set. Maybe you said that and I like missed it, but there's not a set amount of like time or certain things that you want us to talk about. You just want us to talk about our topic.
Very casual presentation. It will be 5 to 10 minutes presentation.
Okay.
So it's a work. So you should prepare. Probably you are going to use the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Then someone can upload the PowerPoint, and your teams can present. If there is any discussions, you can casually discuss.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. You did a great job, Erica. Thank you.
Thank you. I try. Sometimes the quiz, the true and false trips me up sometimes, but I try and discuss to maybe make up for it.
Yeah, the purpose of this class is you're learning.
Yeah, I'm definitely learning.
Yeah, it's great to hear. Okay, I'll see you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.